Now we move Tibet, Qinghai Plateau to northwestern deserts. There are how to pronounce it, Tony and Nadia?
I pronounce Taklamakan and Gobi Desert. In fact, Taklamakan means once you go in, you'll never come out. Now back to you, Hunter.
Thank you. Taklamakan Desert and Gobi Desert. First, let's go to Aspen to know vocabulary words.
Okay, for this section, my vocabulary word is oasis. When it's plural, it's oases with ES. It is a noun. The definition is a place, usually in the desert, where water can be found. So in our picture, there's a desert, it's really hot, and there's no vegetation. But suddenly there's a patch of green right here because of the river. Now I'm going to pass it to Samri and Xian.
Thank you, Aspen. The climate varies from sizzling hot in the summer to blowing freezing in the winter. Now to Lizzie and Jacob.
Thank you, Samri and Xian. The oases are the only place to grow crops or raise animals such as sheep. Evidence shows that in ancient times, shelters made of mud were sometimes built near oases. Let's go to Lizzie to delve deeper into the topic.
Okay. As you might expect, the desert is too dry to have much vegetation. Bushes and weeds and trees grow only near oases and along rivers. Vegetation is sparse, plants tend to be small and widely spaced apart. Hey, Alan Gabe, can you tell us more, please?
Yeah, thanks, Lizzie. The Taklamakan Desert covers an area about 160 kilometers. It is known for one of the most dangerous deserts in the world. Xian and Samri, can you tell us more about the weather?
Okay, desert winds cause suicide guns to shift and change. Sandstorms start with an amazing speed. Legend says that 2 armies and 300 cities are buried 600 feet beneath the sand. Now to Samri to know more.
Thank you, Sam. Temperatures vary greatly here in the Taklamakan Desert and in other northwestern deserts. Summer temperatures can reach 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 37.7 degrees Celsius. In the winter, the temperature can be up to 15 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 9.4 degrees Celsius. Every year it rains about 5 inches or 12.5 centimeters. Not to Anna and Dave.
So the Gobi Desert is one of the world's largest deserts. It stretches of over 500 square miles or 800 over 5 square kilometers. It covers part of China and present-day Mongolia. Unlike the Taklamakan Desert, the Gobi Desert has very few sand dunes. Most of the desert is stony and made up of small pebbles and tiny bits of sand. Now back to you, anchors.
Okay. Thank you. Now we start to learn the Northeastern Plain. The Northeastern Plain is located east of present-day Mongolia. Today, this area is sometimes called either Inner Mongolia or the Manchurian Plain. We go to Lizzie and Jacob to know about the farming.
Thank you to Xian and Lucas G. The northeastern plain is a land of low hills and plains. The natural vegetation is mostly prairie grass. In ancient times, the grass provided food for horses, sheep, and other animals raised by herders. In general, though, this plain is too cold and dry to be suitable for growing crops. Over to you, Gabe and Anna.
Thanks, Jacob and Lizzie. The two major rivers running through the northeastern plain are the Hey, Tony and Nadia, can you help us pronounce these words?
No problem, Anna. It is the Liao and the Songri. And you can also pronounce the word by splitting in parts. Liao and Songri.
Thanks, Tony. The Liao is a shallow river and can only be used by small boats. The Sangre is deeper and can carry larger boats.
Hey Anna, did you know that when the water freezes, people use this river as roads?
That's so cool.
The northeastern plain is an area of great differences in its climate. It has short, warm summers. In the winter, it has in the northeastern and other parts of the plains are dry and cold. But the southern half, especially the valley of the Liao, has milder weather and much water because of the river. Now to Shin to Nonghorn.
Thank you. The northeastern plain generally has cold, dry climate. In the short summer, temperatures climb to 75 degrees or 23.8 degrees. In winter, they fall to 10 degrees or negative 12.2 degrees. It rains about 20 inches, also 50 centimeters. Now to the
Now we move to the North China Plain. One of the two major regions in Inner China is the North China Plain, a flat region of grassland. Temperatures range from very warm in the summer to quite cold in the winter. Back to you, Aspen.
Okay, so for my first word of this section is the North China Plain. It is a noun. The definition is the region in the Huanghe River Valley where the Chinese civilization began. Here's my example. So here's the Huanghe River, and here's the plain, because since it's really flat, there's pretty much just grass. So my next word is silt. It is a noun. The definition is very small particles left on the bottom of a body of water. So if you step in a river or something like that, and this dust pops up, then that's silt. Now I'm going to pass it to geography.
Thanks, Aspen. This region is sometimes called the land of the yellow earth because the ground is covered by yellow limestone silt. The silt comes from the Gobi Desert and is carried by the wind to the North China Plain. The river that runs through the plain is full of yellow silt, as well as the Huanghe. What does this name mean?
The south gives the river its name. Huanghe is known as the Yellow River. Back to you, Anna.
Oh, thanks. Hey Gabe, can you tell us more about the Huanghe River?
Yes. The Huanghe is one of the largest rivers in the world. It also is the muddiest. The mud from the river makes the water look like soup. But that doesn't sound too tasty. This river starts in the high western mountains and winds it way down to the eastern plain. Jacob and Lizzie, can you tell us about the farming for the Huanghe?
Sure, Gabriel. The silt the river carries helps fertilize the surrounding land, making the North China Plain a good place in which to settle and grow crops. Hey, Jacob, do you know more? Because I need help. Can you tell us more?
Sure. Well, the Huanghe does help farmers. It also has been the source for many disasters for the Chinese people. In the past 3,000 years, the river is said to have flooded more than 1,500 times, causing much damage and loss of life. Over to you, anchors.
Okay, it's time to learn Chan places. The Chan places are areas of low deposit plates. The places are located along the river called the Chan. Wait, I have a question. Nadia and Tony, did I pronounce right?
Yeah, you're almost right, but it's pronounced Changjiang. fact, Chanjiang means long river. This river is even longer than the Huanghe. Before we go to geography, let's study about the vocabulary.
Okay, so my next word is tributary. When it's plural, it's just IES, tributaries. It is a noun. The definition is a river or stream that feeds into a larger river or lake. So this is a river, and this is a lake. This is the tributary because it's joining into the lake. Okay. So my next word is delta. When it's plural, it's just with an S, deltas. It is a noun. The definition is a place where a river flows into an ocean. So here's a river, and the delta. This is the sand, the beach, and here's the ocean. So it's joining into the ocean. And my last word of this section is coastal plain. It is a noun. The definition is a flat area close to the coast. So this is a plain, and then here's the coast. Now I'm gonna pass. It to geography.
Thanks, Aspen. The Changjiang River has hundreds of tributaries. People use the river to move goods between eastern and western areas of the region. Like the Huanghe, the Changjiang begins in the western mountains and flows through 3 plains and then into a rich delta. Lizzie, can you tell us about the farming over here?
Sure. Its deposits help make the surrounding lands very fertile. The river floods less often than the Huanghe, making the Changjiang less dangerous. Lizzie, could you tell us even more about the Changjiang basins?
Sure. In the ancient time, the vegetation may have been thick rainforest. There was little space for farming, and air was not suitable for grazing animals. But the basins were very good for growing rice, which needs abundant warmth and moisture. Hey, talking about the warmth, can Shannon Song tell us a little bit more, please?
Thank you, Lizzie. The Changjiang basins have a mild, wet climate. The temperatures range from about 63 degrees Fahrenheit or 17.2 degrees Celsius. In the winter, it goes to 39 degrees or 3.8 degrees Celsius. Every year, it rains about 41 inches or 102.5 centimeters. The climate in the Changjiang basins is warm and wet. Now back to the English.
Now let's move to the early settlement in ancient China. Archaeologists believe that the first inhabitants of China lived in caves more than 500,000 years ago.
Remains of these people were found in the 1920s in the northeastern part of China. These cave dwellers are known today as either Kingmen or how to pronounce it? Nadia?
No problem, Hyunjin. That is the Peking man or the Beijing man. Peking sounds like the combination of Pei and King. And as you know, the Beijing is the capital of China. So it's very easy to pronounce. Back to you, Hyunjin.
It is likely that they were nomads who lived by hunting, gathering, and fishing. And they made tools and may have used fire. Now let's go with Aspen to learn about our vocabulary.
Okay, so my first word of this section is fertile. It is an adjective. The definition is the producing of rich and healthy crops or vegetation. Here's an example. So here's a seed and it has really fertile soil. So later the flowers grow really pretty. Okay, so then my next word is moderate. It's an adjective. The definition is an average size or amount. So here's my picture. Here's there's too little of the dots, so it's not good. But here's too much of the dots, but here's the perfect amount of dots. Okay, so over here, my next word is isolate. It's an adjective. The definition is to separate from others. So here is his friend, this guy's friends, and he's isolated from them right now. Okay, so my next word is barrier. When it's plural, it's just with an S, barriers. And it's a noun. The definition is something like a fence that blocks the way. So a fence could be a barrier, or a brick wall could be a barrier, etc. And then my next word is unify. When it's plural, it's with IES, unifies. It is a verb. The definition is to cause things to come together. So here's the half of the circle, and here's the other half of the circle. When they join together, they make the whole. So now I'm going to pass the ball to farming.
Thank you, Aspen. As people in China turned to farming, they began to settle mostly on the North China Plain in inner China. They grew crops and lived in villages near the Honghe. This marked the start of settled Chinese society. Hey Jacob, can you tell us more?
Sure. It's not surprising that early farmers chose this area to live in. The North China Plain had plenty of water, fertile soil, and a moderate climate. In contrast, both the Tibetan Plateau and the northeastern plain in outer China were too cold and dry to grow crops. The northwestern deserts were also too dry. The Changcheng basins were wet and fertile, but the heavy rains made farming difficult. Over to you, anchors Hyunjin and Lucas G.
Okay, thank you. It's time to learn different regions. Wait.
Now it's time to learn about ancient China's isolation. China's geography kept the early settlements in inner China isolated. Now let's go to Anna and Gabe.
So, only a narrow coastal plain connected the northeastern plain to inner China. In the southwest, the rocky plateau, large mountains, and cold climate made a natural barriers. The large cold climate also created another barrier for China.
Thanks, Gabe. Later in Chinese history, the same geographic features that kept ancient China isolated also made it difficult for developing China as a unified state. The harsh geography and the huge distances made the communication and transportation very difficult and interfered with the movement of the military forces. Now let's go to the anchors.
Okay. It's time to learn different regions and different ways of life. Although most early inhabitants settled on the North China Plain, some people did live in the other geographic regions. Ways of life for settlers in this region developed quite differently, but someone will be not able to understand some parts because of difficult words. Then let's go to After.
Thank you, Hyunjin. So my last vocabulary word of the day is nomad. When it's plural, it's just with an S, nomads. It is a noun. The definition is a person with no fixed home and wanders from place to place. So here's a nomad. He sets his tent here by the river. Then he'll probably move and settle here, then settle here. He'll keep going. Now I'm gonna pass it to farming.
Thanks, Aspen. Mainly because outer China did not have a good farm plan. Fewer people settled there than in inner China. The Tibetan Plateau is not suitable for growing crops, but herders could raise livestock, especially yaks. Lizzie, could you tell me more about it?
Sure. The people who lived in the plateau were nomads who had to move frequently to find new grazing land. The animals they herded supplied many of the nomad needs. They ate meat from the yak and made butter and yogurt from yak milk. People used yak wool to make the heavy clothing that they needed to survive the cold climate. They also wove yak hair into material for tent. Hey Anchor, can you tell us more?
So in the northwestern desert, the only permanent communities were on the oasis. There, residents built homes out of mud. People grew mud, cotton, wheat, and maize. Their main foods were wheat noodles, bread, and mutton. Now let's move to Jake and Lizzie to know more about farming.
The northeastern plain was too cold and dry for much farming, but its premier grass supported livestock. Early inhabitants of the region were also nomads. They raised sheep, goats, cattle, and horses. Because they were constantly moving to find grass for their animals, they lived mostly in tents. Hey Jacob, would you like to tell us more?
Sure, Lizzie. Their main food was meat. They often invaded the North China Plain to get needed supplies. Eventually, the people of Inner China built the Great Wall to keep these invaders out. Back to you, two anchors.
Okay. Now it's time to learn the life in Inner China. The fertile land of Inner China supported larger, more settled populations on the North China Plain. Back to you, Lizzie and Jacob, who are in charge of farming.
Farming grew mainly wheat and milk. Oh, thanks, Jacob. They raised cattle, sheep, oxen, pigs, and chickens. They herded cattle, water, buffalo, and horses. Settlers built permanent homes out of rain, earth, soil tightly packed to make solid walls. Hey, Jacob, can you tell us more?
Sure. The Changcheng basins had limited farmland and lacked grazing and for animals such as cattle, but rice thrived in this warm, wet area. As early as 10,000 BCE, settlers were able to grow rice in the river valley. They also raised pigs and poultry. Nearby seas provided plentiful sea. People built permanent houses that they could stay in one place and tend their animals and crops. And finally, back to the anchors for one last closing statement.
Today, you have explored the climate, physical features, and vegetation in 5 geographic regions in China. We learned how geography affected settlement, ways of life, and communication in ancient China.
I hope you learned many things through this news. Jacob and Lizzie were in charge of farming, and Gabe and Anna were in geography. Xian and Sami were in climate, and Aspi was in China. I mean China.
You're good. Vocabulary.
Aspi was in vocabulary, and Nadia and Tony were in pronunciation, and we were anchors Hyunjin.
And Lucas G.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.